Fucking harness, Blitzen thought as he woke up. There were a lot of things he hated about Christmas Eve, but putting on that harness was definitely near the top of the list. Santa purchased it from the same guy who made all the other reindeer harnesses and never bothered to adjust them over the years. A minute after being strapped in, the leather cuts into the 2 layers of fur on your neck, shortens your breath, and pain shoots through your legs. It was a small mercy for Blitzen that over the years he had lost most of the feeling in his body. He drank from the watering trough and looked around his old room in Santa's village. Same candy cane furniture, same pictures of penguins with sad eyes. Then he began his daily routine: Tenormin for blood pressure, glucotrol and metformin for diabetes, Reumatrex for arthritis, ibuprofen for torn rotator cuff, Rescula for glaucoma, Cinemet for Parkinson's, K2 supplements for calcification around the antlers. Then he sprayed his right knee with ethyl chloride, drained the fluid, and injected 40 milligrams of cortisone through the kneecap. Prancer had showed him how to do this after his first orthoscopic surgery when his knee blew out flying over the Galapagos. Santa, of course, publicly frowned upon reindeer using any kinds of drugs, but behind the scenes, he looked the other way. Always, as long as the job got done. Blitzen's real name was Ashley Lionel, but ever since he began outracing the other reindeer as a kid, everyone called him Blitz or would say, "He's blitzing them." The Christmas authorities watched these developments closely, and it wasn't long before his parents sent him to the North Pole-sanctioned Yang Chow Happy Best Flying Academy. It was there that Blitzen lived in a pen with 80 other reindeer hopefuls, who were then cut to 60, then to 30, then finally 8, and signed to a lifetime contract. He could still hear Master Quo yelling, "You fly for the greater good. You fly for the glory of Christmas and its generous corporate sponsors." Sometimes Blitzen didn't see his parents for years when he was training. After his first sleigh ride with Santa, his mother and father didn't recognize him and mistakenly hugged Cupid. His mother and father were never again invited to witness an official sleigh ride. Blitzen lit a cigarette, the only time of the year he did. He tried calling his daughter, but the reception was terrible. Just as well, since his ex might answer, or worse, her new husband, and he didn't need to deal with that. Only one other person had ever called Blitzen by his real name, that funny-looking blonde elf named Hermie, who would always go on and on about being a dentist someday. "You know where I'm going when I get out of here, Lionel?" he asked Blitzen one night. "Huntington, West Virginia. #1 city in the United States for tooth loss." "I'd open a little office there and fill people's cavities like new. If you ever get tired of flying, you look me up." The next morning, Hermie was gone. Santa's publicist told the press he had been transferred, but later, Blitzen got a postcard in the mail. It was blank, except for a quote, "Drill, baby, drill." Blitzen pictured Hermie in that little West Virginia office, fixing people's molars and scraping coal dust off their gums. He wondered what would have happened if he took Hermie up on that offer. Sticking his hooves in screaming kids' mouths couldn't be any worse than cutting ribbons at Walmart's, or the last Old Navy commercial he did with Tina Yothers and Mickey Rourke. Blitzen looked through the window and saw Santa outside, trudging through the snow. He realized he had barely said more than 10 words at a time to Santa in all the years he'd been flying. Donder always joked that Santa needed a chart to remember the reindeer names, and maybe he was right. 3 of the original 8 reindeer, of course, had died and quietly been replaced. Dancer, who had a heart attack. Vixen, shot after a bar fight. And Cupid, who contracted a brain parasite at a memorabilia show in Newfoundland which ate his spinal cord. That left Dasher, the only one of the group who invested wisely. Prancer, the daredevil, who wound up in rehab and became a born-again. And Comet, who lost everything trying to form his own toy syndicate. Donder was Blitzen's best friend during the years at Happy Best Flying Academy. He had grown up in 12 different foster homes, so he didn't care about anything. When the original 8 were introduced at a press conference, a reporter asked, "What's it like to pull that sleigh?" Donder shot back, "It's great. Who doesn't love pulling a fat man and tons of toys behind him? You should try it sometime, jackass." He was severely reprimanded, but he laughed about it, and later he and Blitzen got drunk off eggnog they made in their homemade still and went out to literally get as much tail as they could. They were the terrible two, thunder and lightning. Those were the good days. And Rudolph. Poor Rudolph. Rudolph wasn't part of the original 8, and Blitzen and the others never let him forget it. That so-called foggy Christmas Eve was a complete PR scam, which covered up a potential union strike involving defective slinkies made with barbed wire. Rudolph was at the right place at the wrong time. He became a hero, and the pressure led to a nervous breakdown. Ironically, electroshock therapy made things even worse and blew out the guidance system in his nose. Eventually, the 8 reindeer moved out of Santa's village and went their individual ways. Blitzen didn't see much of Donder now, who was living in Aspen with his underage girlfriend Bambi. He didn't see any of them really, except at this time of year when they would all gather here again to do their contractually obligated chores. Still, they shared the bond that only a few reindeer in the world could understand. Blitzen couldn't escape it even if he wanted to, and in his heart he didn't. For just a few moments each year, as he hit the winds of the polar easterlies, he felt it, what Prancer used to call the polar high rush. And in those moments, his knees were loose and strong, and he was a kid again, outrunning the others, pure, clean, and fast, no reward, no obligation. Even the fucking harness didn't matter. In about an hour, Blitzen would have to go to the staging area, see the elves, the other 7, make small talk, listen to Prancer explain how Jesus saved him. Everyone would eye each other, notice the nips and tucks, and move on. Blitzen knew he could head over now, get the formalities out of the way, or maybe he would go back inside and get another half hour of sleep before that long night ahead. He chose sleep.